Step one, we're going to disconnect the negative terminal here. Given the fact that we're going to be undoing the power steering high voltage lines and all sorts of other stuff. So that's dead. In the vehicles that have amplifiers and everything else in them, you want to kind of let it sit for a good amount of time, but I never really worry too much about it because the capacitor is only going to store for so long. So you might see some strobe lights in the back here. We got 2 penguin signs. They're badass, but on the camera they strobe out. Yeah, buddy. I have made a logo. So yeah, let's keep going. Oh, before I get too far, I need to address something. Look at my fucking hair. The right side of my head decided it's a good day to stand up, and then this side here doesn't want anything to do with it. So, not really sure what's going on there, but I don't give a shit. I loosened up the clamps on this. I popped these hoses already the other day. So, that's off. So, under here, we have a couple things going on. I don't know what the best way to show you guys this is, but we have the differentials over here, and then the power steering rack is here. The power steering rack unbolts here. It's got a whole wire harness and everything that goes into it, and that all needs to be disconnected. So I'm not going to show you a ton of detail on there just because being under the car kind of sucks for me with my neck. So I want to be under this thing as little as possible. I'm going to take off the bolts on the axles. I'm going to leave the axles in the wheel itself, but unbolt from that. The diff's coming out, and then the power steering rack is coming out. And the reason you got to do that is to let the oil pan down. That's what you got to do. The oil pump sits up here in the front. It goes around the crank gear, but there's a pickup that goes down. In the older ones, like the 04s and stuff, you used to be able to get in there and you could play fucky fuck for a little while and get the 1 8mm bolt out for the strainer. And then you would file off a piece on it so you could spin the tab around and bolt it up on this side, and you could shortcut this by several hours. This one here is not that way. So I'm going to keep ripping and tearing. And then when I get a piece out, I'll show you what I disconnected. That way you can understand it. And we're good to go there. One other thing worth noting, the steering wheel lock is engaged, and I do have the seat belt around it. We're going to be disconnecting the linkage going down to the power steering rack, and we do not want to destroy a clock spring. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright, rack is out, diff is out. Nothing here is difficult, guys, nothing. 2 bolts, and then 2 bolts hold the rack in. There's 2 connectors. If you follow wires before you disconnect, you'll see that this and the ground just come back up to itself. So none of that matters. The 2 bolts, 2 bolts. 6 bolts, 6 bolts. Axles stay in the car. This comes out, drops right to the ground. There's a connector that plugs in right here. It's got a little wire cert, and then a hose that goes there. And there's 1 connector going to the diff. That's all there is to that. Now you can see there's 1 cross member going side to side, and then you have full access to the oil pan and everything else. Something's been rubbing on the oil pan. Oh, it's the wire harness. So this is kind of funny about aluminum. Even these plastic harnesses will wear through aluminum. But now we have access to everything we need down here. We can drop the oil pan, yada yada. I'll take this out when I'm ready for it, when I'm going to drop the oil pan bolts, but everything else is up top now. Alright guys, so took the serpentine belt off. There's stretch belt tools that I have to put on the AC, and then I'm going to turn this over and it's going to pop the belt off. Basically what this does, sits into the groove of the pulley. It'll go in there kind of like that. As the belt goes off, it works its way off to the edge and pops it off. Alright, let's see if I can keep everything together now. Okay, it's in it. Now we just work it around. Pop, goes the weasel. That's how you do a stretch belt. There's a vacuum pump bolt over here. I'm going to drain the coolant, and then I'm going to start taking off the alternator, the bracket, the water pump, some other stuff. I'll show you how this goes as we go. Again, we got the battery disconnected, so I don't have to worry about any of these wires arcing out and having a good time with each other. It's like that first date, you know, sparks are flying. So somebody put the alternator on and they didn't understand what a lock washer was. Makes sense, it's got a Duralast in it. Built to die, Dura-die. Okay, so to free up an alternator, there's pins in it, one on each side. And they are designed to take up the slack. So it's a tight tolerance around here, and it allows a little bit of room for error on an alternator. So, gotta open those ears up. I just cut myself. You believe that? I got a boo-boo. I got a boo-boo. Alright, there's that. Ta-da! Okay, just taking pieces and parts off here, guys. Here's a little cheating hack, guys. So, I got 3 different size bolts here on the same bracket, right? So, gonna do 1 dot. Now I know where that goes. This one here. I do 2 dots. Now I know where that one goes. 1, 2, 3. And now I know where that one goes. Just so you can find them quickly at a glance. You don't have to like sit there and see how long they are or try to remember. You just 3 dots. Done. Believe yeah, it is. AC compressor screwed into this shit too. Alright, so to the compressor. Okay guys, again, sorry about the little flickery lights. I know it's annoying, but it is what it is. Now we're down to essentially the cover. The vacuum pump has to be removed and pulled to the side in order to gain access to the timing cover properly. I'm sure I could get it off without doing that, but maybe not. I'm also going to clean all this real quick. Everything's still buttoned up as far as the oil system goes, so I'm going to spray this down and give this a little hit with the hose. That way I can get most of the dirt out of it. I'll tape over these ports and yeah, get some of this shit out of here. So here's the puller that I use, guys. This is actually for a Chrysler, but it's a 3-jaw puller. You slip the rod, it goes down the center of the shaft, and then these little arms come out. They go through and they grab right there on the pulley. So you can see they don't get into the grooves of the pulley, but grabbing on the actual harmonic balancer. So yeah, we got that monstrosity off. Okay guys, it got dark last night. I got a pile of shit here on the floor. That means I got it all apart and I didn't film it. What a dick. So let's see what we got. So oil pan, straightforward. There's cooler lines that come in it. You just unbolt those, set that aside. Then you just undo the bolts around it, and there's 2 bolts that go from the transmission this way. There's 2 bolts that hold plastic shields for the transmission that go in here. Nothing really too big there. Now, point of failure here, when you take this down, there is an O-ring in here that goes to the bottom of the pump, and that is super hard. So I suspect what happens is this thing starts sucking in air and is what causes the pump to cavitate. I am going to take this pump apart at the end of this video and see if we can see explosions on the thing or just what all is going on in it. But timing cover, very basic to get off. So Now it's time to go back together. I'm not going to film a ton of this because it's the reverse of going together, and honestly, working on my back underneath this thing sucks a dick. This is so much easier on a lift, for sure. But that's where we're at now. So I'm going to get some stuff cleaned up here. I'll show you how naked the engine is. Ooh, so naked. So yeah, we got it all. I surface prepped that. I surface prepped underneath, and then had it dripping all night. That way it would ensure that there was no oil contaminating the sealant when I put it back together. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Water pump, self-explanatory here. 3 bolts on this side, 4 bolts on this side. You do have to pull the tensioner off, and then you pull out that bolt there. I got all the gaskets and everything for this. I can show you guys the list of that at the end of the video. That way you'll see parts to order for this. I want to make sure that's all I need. I got to go get oil and a filter, but the pan's going to get glued up, and then I'm leaving it alone overnight. I do not want to dick around with putting oil in there, contaminating the sealant, and then running into issues. But yeah, this is a pile of shit that has to come off it. Again, not a hard job. Just a lot of stuff has to come off, and on the ground, it sucks. So be aware. There's quite a few bolts, as to be expected with all the shit that came off of this thing. So, yep, that's where we are. Okay, guys, here's the actual procedure. See if I can get. So, it says upward pressure must be applied to the pump while tightening the fasteners. And then we're going to go to 18 inch-pounds with these bolts. So here's the pump. I put some oil in the pickup and I rotated it. Hear it gargling. Yeah. Gargles like your mom on a Friday night. So that makes it so that this is not going to start dry. We're going to crank it and everything too, but it comes with new bolts, and it comes with black little rubbers inside of it. But they want you to push upward pressure while tightening this thing in. So that's what we're going to do. I am ready to get this onto the vehicle. The surface is nice and clean down there. There is no gasket. It is a metal to metal perfect machine fit. So that's what we're going to do. So something that might save you a little time. There are little teeth in this, and they have to slip over that shaft. So if you use a little pocket screwdriver and you keep this gear centered in there and just kind of wobble it around, eventually it'll slide right on. There should be close to no resistance. And this is what that gear looks like. And as you can tell, this thing will go wherever you want it to. It's got a whole world of difference. Now, when I take this apart, I'll show you why. Basically, there's a big gear in here, and this sits off to one side of it, so there's an open cavity over here, and the oil will come in through a hole here, gets sucked up in here, and then it gets meshed into the gears. It goes whack to it, and Haley's out the other side of this thing. So we'll see. I'll show you guys. It'll make sense. Never. All right, guys. So the 18 inch-pounds wasn't sitting with me. So I went to specifications, all things. So oil pump to engine block says right here 18 foot-pounds, where before it said pound inches. So fuck them. 18 foot-pounds on the oil pump. Okay, guys. So one thing that's really weird. Typically, the closed face of the seal is going to go out. When I first looked at this truck, I'm like, holy shit, the seal was put in backwards. What an idiot. No, the seal goes in backwards of what you would think. And in fact, inside here, it shows an arrow, and then it also says this side out. So be very careful to put this thing the correct orientation. Now, typically what happens when they don't have springs is you would put this side in, and the oil pressure would kind of push this lip down onto it. Well, apparently it relies on this lip here, which is a lot more pliable. It makes sense, but it's kind of goofy. So pay attention to the seal. Put it in the opposite way you think it needs to go in, unless you know it needs to go in this way, because I've told you. I'm going to finish cleaning it, get it cacked, get it put on the vehicle, and then we'll check the next step. So there's two of these seals, and then here's your oil pickup seal. Still, I'm not positive, guys, but I would be willing to bet that it's the O-ring that fails, and that's what kills the pump. I'd be willing to bet. So, nice pliable seal in there. Oil cooler seals. Bada boom, bada bing. That's that. So I'm going to put some Sil Glide on these. What the Sil Glide allows it to do is it allows it to slide around the engine without getting the without rolling the seal. This is just something that I do on all seals. So why make an exception now? All right, this is prepped. I'm going under the vehicle and I'm gonna clean everything. Okay guys, I'm gonna go one step further on this. The pickup tube, I got concerns about this tube going into here with no seal. So I yanked it out. I'm gonna use some of this anaerobic gasket maker. Just put a little bit of this stuff on there and seal this bad boy up. It's supposed to be a precise fit. I just don't really feel like taking any more chances with this, so called my engine builder and he's like, well, I usually put this on it. And I said, well, you're a smarter man than I am. So okay, so I got a nice even coat on there, making sure I don't get any in the tube. I don't want this shit in the oil pump. So then we'll put this guy back in there. Good. All right. Again, I'm not putting oil in this tonight, so this will be fine. Ta-da! Put the windage tray back on there, or a splash tray, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. What's up, guys? So it's another day. Today's Saturday. We started this on Wednesday. I worked on it a little bit Wednesday, a little bit Thursday, more towards the afternoon. It started raining, couldn't work on it. Yesterday I got fucked on a Toyota all day. So I'm fighting lean codes on a Toyota 4Runner. I didn't do a video on it, but still fighting with it. So yeah, here's the pile of stuff we have left. We got the diff in, diff's bolted up, all that's good. I'm going to put the power steering rack in there, and then once the rack is in there, we'll be back up top, and I'll show you guys that stuff. It is just impossible for me to be able to show you anything under there. I don't have a lift yet, but it's coming. I pick it up tomorrow. Who's going to have a lifty poo? Anyways, back to the truck. Okay guys, so here's a great example of why you mark the bolts. So I got 3 dots here. It's been several days, so I look at my bolts, boop, that one goes there, done. There's no trial and error trying to put something somewhere it doesn't belong. You know exactly where it goes. So that's why I mark my bolts. Another thing I'm going to do is these little tabs here. These are they're slip fittings. So I like to tap these back just a little bit. When you do it, you set it on, you know what, I'll show you. So I don't want to break the ear off of these, so I find a socket that fits over it, and then I'm just going to kind of give it a couple taps. Not much, just trying to free it up a little bit. That's it. Now they've moved out, you can see the gap there, and that one too. And now the alternator will sit right in. But what that does is it stops you from breaking the ear off, because if you just sit there and hit this, you're going to snap the ear off. Dear Snap-on, I broke your toy. Now, that'll have to be replaced. This used to live here, now it lives there. Ugh. Snap-on's used to me blowing his shit up. Alrighty. Alright guys, so we're driving now, and you can see we're hovering around 40 psi, 50 psi of oil pressure. The valve is on. When I stuff this thing, it turns the valve off, gives it full oil pressure, and then when we're off of it, drops back down around the 40 psi mark. That's exactly what we want. Now I'm going to do a downhill coast here. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, here we are at idle, holding 30 psi. Before it was dropping down in the very low 20s and high teens. So I'm going to say that's mucho bettero. So always confirm your fix, guys. All better. Okay, let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Let's see what we can find. Okay, so remember I was telling you guys earlier how the pump moves around? So what it does is these little veins here pick it up on a certain spot, and as it goes, they get tighter into the tolerances, and that's where your pressure comes from. So, there, let's get it out of there. Nowhere on that. Oh, these have a groove in them. There's a groove. That's groovy, baby, yeah. I don't see the groove there. A little bit of premature wear. Alright, this is going to be in the solenoid then. Alright, so let's get a shock load here that keeps this, but it can also move if it has to. This can vary this way a little bit. What do I want to do here? Who do I want to take apart? Who do I gotta fuck around here? Alright, let's just take it apart. This might spit out at my face. I have a feeling this is all spring loaded. Alright, let's do something fun here. Eject. Come on, baby. Come on. This to it. There it goes. Oh boy. Oh boy. Grenade. Has to catch a grenade for you. Just kidding. I wouldn't catch anything. Alright, so. Needs a little more assistance with the pry bar. Yeah, buddy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Nope, it doesn't like that. Ta-da! Those were okay. Get that out of there. Come on, baby. That's right, baby. Nothing slow. Clearance on it. Stupid pin. Okay, solenoid's out. Let's see if we can move it. That moves. The end of it moves. Let's modify the end of it and see what we got in there. Okay. There's that. Now we're into the solenoid. Let's give her a wiggle again. It still moves. So it wasn't a mechanical issue. It must have just been electrical. Let's pull out the pressure relief valve here. Huh. Yep, just electrical on this one. Wow. Well, there she is. Here's your culprit. So, another episode of Penguin's Garage, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Silverado's happy now. I'm happy, customers happy, and I came in under budget. So, everybody happy. Everybody happy. So, catch you on the next one, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the little thumb thing. Have a good one. There's your parts list. That way you know what you need to get on top of oil and coolant.